In the world of AI startups, you hear a lot about unicorns, right? But then there are the anomalies, the companies that just break the mold. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating ones I've seen, Recall.ai. It's a story that really redefines what it means to be lean and incredibly powerful.
So what exactly makes Recall.ai such an outlier, such an anomaly? Well, let's just dive right into the numbers because they're pretty wild.
Okay, first up, the money. We're talking about nearly $20 million in annual revenue. I mean, that is a huge milestone for any company, putting them firmly in a very successful, very elite club.
But here's where the story gets kinda nuts. They're pulling in all that cash with a team of less than 30 people. Just let that sink in. The revenue per employee is it's absolutely off the charts. And don't think for a second that this is some small niche operation. No way. They are the backbone, the critical infrastructure for over 1,000 other AI companies, many of which are hundreds, even thousands of times bigger than they are. So that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth is a tiny team like that running infrastructure on a scale larger than almost any company on AWS? Well, the answer, it turns out, is baked right into their origin story.
Yeah, this whole thing didn't kick off in some fancy boardroom. Nope, it all started at a hackathon with a 19-year-old founder who had to make a pretty massive life-changing decision.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It's an absolute blur. In November of 2019, the founder, David, wins a Y Combinator hackathon. Okay, cool. But then, just 3 weeks later, he makes a choice. He literally skips 6 of his final exams, flies out to Mountain View for the interview, and by January, boom, he's in. The whole thing was just an absolute whirlwind.
But that kind of rocket ship start, it often leads directly into the hardest part. And for them, it was a grind. I mean, a truly unimaginable grind. Getting into the program was one thing, but just surviving those early days, that was a whole different ballgame.
Talk about instability. David's first co-founder decided, you know what, I'm going to stay in college. Then, when COVID hit, his second co-founder left, looking for something more stable. And that left David completely on his own for almost 5 grueling months before he finally refounded the company with his long-term co-founder, Amanda. And if you want a perfect picture of just how brutal that grind was, look at this. The fundraising. It was a gauntlet. Their first attempt, with their initial product, took 4 agonizing months just to raise $160,000. Then, even after they pivoted to the Recall API, it took them nearly 9 months, an eternity in startup land, to close their $2.5 million seed round. And to get that round done, they had to climb another mountain. You see that number, over 1,000? That's not customers this time. That is the number of handwritten, personalized emails they sent to other founders just to get introductions to about 120 investors. The hustle was just relentless.
So, all of that pain, all of that struggle, it led them to their big aha moment, the pivot. This is the moment they stopped trying to build for some hypothetical market and started solving their own massive, debilitating pain.
So for 3 whole years, their product was a call recorder for consumers. But here was the real problem, the one they lived and breathed every single day. A staggering 70 to 80% of all their engineering time wasn't going into cool new features. It was just spent trying to keep the lights on and keep the whole thing from falling apart. So you have to ask, right? Why on earth would you just walk away from a product that you'd poured 3 years of your life into? A product that customers were actually using? Well, the answer came from a place of really deep personal pain. The founder, David, said this, and it just hits you. I actually had nightmares about the infrastructure for 5 or 6 months, literal nightmares. He knew this wasn't just some annoying bug. It was a fundamental barrier that every other company in their space was secretly fighting. So with that conviction, and probably a lot of sleepless nights, they pivoted. But that brings us right back to our original question. How do they maintain that exact same nightmare-inducing infrastructure, but with such a lean team? Well, it all comes down to a really unique hiring philosophy. Just take a look at the makeup of their engineering team. More than half of them, they're previous startup founders themselves. Think about that. They aren't just hiring for technical skill. They're hiring for that founder's mindset, that sense of extreme ownership and relentless drive to just get things done. And what that creates is something you could call the full-stack employee. An engineer at Recall doesn't just write low-level systems code in a silo.
No, that same person talks directly to customers, makes crucial product decisions, and even helps close major enterprise deals. They own the entire outcome, not just a single task.
And this is all rooted in one core principle. The founder believes that every single time you hand off a task from one person to another, you lose 90% of the context. All the nuance just evaporates. So if you can have one person own a problem from the code all the way to the customer, you've just unlocked a massive amount of efficiency. So you have this incredibly lean and efficient machine. Where do you point it? Well, you point it at a massive, completely untapped opportunity. Because the future of data, it turns out, isn't written down, it's spoken. Get ready for this number, because it is absolutely staggering. Every single year, there are 5 times more words spoken inside of companies at work than exist on the entire internet combined. Just let that sink in for a second. It's a colossal, completely untapped ocean of data. And that leads to their core thesis. Think about it. 99% of a company's real context, the real why behind things, isn't in some document or a ticket. It's in the conversations between people. And for AI to get truly intelligent, it needs access to that data layer. That is exactly what Recall provides. When David was asked for his #1 piece of advice for other founders, his answer really brought this entire journey full circle. He just said, "A lot of people give up before they get there. My advice would be, don't give up." It's not just about surviving, it's about giving yourself the time to learn, to fail, and to finally get all the pieces right. Ultimately, their whole story reveals this one powerful lesson. Your greatest asset might be hidden inside your biggest struggle. They turned their infrastructure nightmares into a $20 million business. Which leaves us with a final question for you. What hidden asset are you building right now through your own challenges?